And now, from the higher education, let's shift our focus to school education and very interesting session again on changing pattern of assessment in a blended learning model. And for that, we have got eminent speakers from the school ecosystem from the entire country. Let me invite Dr. Parveen Kukreja, Academic Director, Shameford Futuristic School, Agra, to come on stage, please. A huge round of applause for her. Dr. Parveen Kukreja. May I request Dr. Sunita Swaraj, Principal, the Heritage School from Delhi, to come on stage, please. We have with us Dr. Shalini Bajaj, Principal, the Maurya School, Gurugram, to come on stage, please. We have with us Dr. Mansi Agarwal, Founder and Managing Director, Scottish Early Years, Delhi. We welcome Dr. Mansi. We have with us Mamta Sabarwal, Vice Principal and Head of School, Darshan Academy, Delhi. We welcome Ms. Mamta. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. I think it's an interesting topic, especially in the context of when we have the impending mission mode program called National Education Policy. It's in the implementation stage. So let me start with Dr. Parveen Kukreja. In terms of NEP or National Education Policy, if we talk about the schools, is there any tool or mechanism to assess the impact of schools in NEP? What are your thoughts on that?
Till now, I will be very thankful, first of all, you app to giving me this opportunity. You are asking for some tool. So till now, I think tool is our teacher itself. So we teachers...
Tool or provisions, whatever you can place it.
You ask me again.
Yeah, I'm saying in the NEP, there are provisions of assessing the impact of schools. So how do you analyze that kind of structure?
I will say that we will just organize this structure by our teachers itself till now. We are not using any different technology. We are based at Agra. So our assessment of the students we are doing by the simple method presently. But with the NEP there comes a changes. We are now going for the ERP systems and all.
Let me have a perspective of Dr. Shalini Bajaj as well. Dr. Shalini, in terms of this blended model of education, right, a lot of things have changed, are changing, especially with the new world order. In last 2 years, a lot of things have changed, blended education, everything is there. What kind of changes do you foresee in the assessment in terms of innovation or other means for that, say? What are your thoughts on that?
See, NEP was introduced, in 2020.
Is she audible? Yeah, I think so.
See, NEP could not be implemented due to pandemic. During pandemic, we shifted from having an offline mode of teaching to online mode of teaching. Our teachers upgraded, new methods were introduced. So the thought process by which NEP was introduced, it has now quite changed. Now when we're talking about assessments, it has to be the way you said, blended model. Like we cannot do it with technology now. So now assessments have to have both the aspects. In offline mode as well as online. So technology blended assessments have to be there. The assessments according to NEP have to be competency based, where more stress is on the formative assessments, that is day-to-day assessments. It's about not about assessment of learning the way we have it. We've taught them something, then they memorize it and they write an exam. No, it's not like this now. It is an ongoing process. It is assessment for learning, where teachers they assess where exactly are the students, they diagnose, then they come up with a model and they implement, and assessment as learning. where children, which is student-based, student-centric, where student also, they assess themselves, and with the help of teachers, they come up with a model where they can learn. So this is how the assessments have to change. The rote, the kind of, rote memorizing model, and where, we're only testing the lower realms of cognitive domain, have to change. And we have to move to a model where, we have children who basically, the way, they were explaining in the last session, which are employable, skill-based, where you can utilize their abilities.
Right, it's an ongoing process. If I take a crux of what you have said, and we all have to be ready to accept that change where we leverage technology and innovation more and more in terms of assessment. Let's have a perspective from Dr. Sunita Swaraj. Dr. Sunita, your thoughts on that?
If I may say that NEP, I think it's a welcome change for all. Everybody was actually waiting for it, but since I belong to an organization who has been into experiential learning for past many years now, I think we were the pioneers. So NEP, when it came to us, it was like, there's nothing that would actually change in our organization because we've been doing it. Now, if I talk about assessments generally, if you remember, I don't know, you must be younger than me, but याद है वो दिन जब हम लोग supplementary sheets लेते चले जाते थे और सबसे ज़्यादा जो लेते थे वो सबसे बढ़िया होते थे. And I used to wonder, what are they writing? So
how many pages you have taken?
Absolutely. And I used to just worry, and I used to get over with the exam first. So today, if I may talk about assessment, we do not have assessment. We do not have examination in our school till grade 8. And initially, when we started this some 15 years back, parents were very unhappy with it. But today, if I look at, I think assessments is much more important than evaluation. And grade 12, if I look at 99%, 99 point some percent, highest. हमारे टाइम में क्या होता था कि distinction आ गई तो लड्डू बच जाते थे. So, I mean, where are we heading? What are we really aiming at? And despite 99.9 whatever percent, ये देश कूड़ेदान है. If you just look around, I mean, when you're really driving down, there's litter all around. There's so many problems that we have in our country. If our education system, the evaluation was so wonderful that we could get 99%, then I think things could have been very different. So I feel that NEP, I think, has to be implemented. CCE आया था, सब लोगों ने कोशिश की और वहाँ पहुँचे और वो बदल गया. Now NEP is here. It's very important for us to understand that there has to be a training around it. There has to be an understanding around it for it to really welcome it, to really bring in those changes inside the classroom. The pedagogy, our BEds are just a stamp to be a teacher. Where are these teachers getting trained from? So a lot of it, CBSE is doing it, but a lot has to happen in terms of pedagogical shift and training.
Interesting perspective. I'll come back to you. Let's have a perspective from Dr. Mansi. Mansi, your opinion, lot needs to be done? Or do you think that NEP has been a good start, but as she was saying that all rest on how it is being implemented and whether it is implemented or not? Your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree with her that you have to see how it's implemented. It's also important to realize that, as ma'am mentioned, we're sitting in a city where a lot of schools are private schools and we belong to a privileged few. So if you look at the private schools, for them it's not that big a shift when you look at the NEP because they already have technology labs. They are already promoting critical thinking. They have been doing that. I'm lucky to be, from the 90s, as I would say, probably the only one on the panel. So with that, I did have access to other unconventional subjects which I could have pursued as, a profession. However, when you look at a national education policy, it is for all the schools across the country. And the majority of those schools which will actually bring grassroots level of change would be the public schools. So with this policy, what will happen is that there will be significant and impactful change in the public schools to promote critical thinking, to promote emotional well-being, to promote logical reasoning, and provide them access where the only options are not either becoming an engineer or a doctor, and they can go beyond those conventional and orthodox professions and kind of think. So I do agree implementation is required. We hope that with the guidelines that came in 2020, it's not an overnight change that will happen. We understand it, I'm sure, as educationists, and we accept it. So it would take at least a decade to, I would say, have an impact and to bring any kind of change, because they need to create training facilities. They need to, I'm very glad that they've brought in mandatory 5 hours of yearly training. But it's also important to understand that when you say 25 hours of yearly training, one, it needs to be qualitative. Like it needs to be quality 25 hours, because that's technically only 2 hours a month. So if it is 2 hours a month, it needs to be done in a way that it's not just another stamp. If it is done the right way, I'm sure that in the next 20, 30 years, we will see an impact of this policy that has been introduced.
And I can take a cue from what both of you have said, that we can also see that there is an intent. A lot of things can happen. We can take the example of Delhi government schools. The kind of sea change has been done. So if there's an intent, you mentioned about public schools, that's why I'm just giving that reference, that a lot of things can happen actually. And my next question was supposed to be about the non-creamy part of this education system, but I'm glad that you have raised that point. I'll come back to you. Let's have a perspective from Mamta Sabarwal. Ma'am, your thoughts on this? अभी तक हम कहाँ पहुँचे और कहाँ पहुँच सकते हैं, आपको क्या लगता है?
First of all, a very lovely evening to everyone, and thank you APAC for giving the opportunity. Sir, if I'll start from अभी तक कहाँ पहुँचे, तो शायद अभी शुरू ही नहीं किया. अभी तो चलना शुरू किया है और सफ़र बहुत लंबा है. Because if we talk about NAP 2020 and the blended learning, they go hand in hand. Why? Because in a true aspect, if you see, the blended learning has started at almost the same time. Same time in a way that nobody thought of, that education could also be through technology. It was just that there was a lockdown and everybody was thrown in that pool. And we would have been expected, the educators, just to swim. So at that point of time, there was no other go, but I think it was that we had to swim. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise that everybody worked out day and night, and then they did not only swim, but they survived. So that was the same time the technology, and you see in no time that technology has become a part and parcel of our life of education, wherein the students now, they do not want to go only with the traditional system. They want to have that blended mode. Why? Because that is there. They are the natives of technology. So that is the area which appeals to them the most. So now when the blended is there, there is a challenge for the schools, for the educators. The challenge is that we have to maintain the pace. And along with maintaining the pace, we also have to maintain that balance. Balance to see that how much access of technology we can give it to our students so that they can be on a right track. So that is why we have to be very, very categorical, very analytical to see that how much technology usage we are doing with the children. And then when you said NAP, if I talk about, there are 4 C's of blended learning, which is communication, which is critical thinking, which is collaboration, and which is creativity. And all these four, they go in consonance with the 21st century skills, which is a part of NEP 2020. Because what is the vision of NEP 2020? If you see the vision was just to develop an education system that is deeply rooted into Indian ethos. Ethos is wherein that we have to help our children to develop not only academically, but emotionally, culturally, spiritually, technically, and all-round well-being. So that is why they have talked about holistic education. So holistic education, now just to make people understand, and people, when I say, that means the stakeholders. Now when I say the stakeholders, these stakeholders are whom? They are largely, we have so many, but if we say the largely, it is being the parents and the students. So first to make them understand that yes, true, our education system is like that the percentage, what you were saying, 99.9, and that is also not sufficient. But now is the time we need to realize that yes, along with that percentage, there has to be skill enhancement, which has been talked about in NEP through the competency-based education. So that is what I'm saying, it is just a start. Because, and that too what I would agree to it, it is something which is happening in the urban area. Still, we are prone to, we have technology. In no time, we can have the technology into our classrooms, whatever Dr. Vinita was saying in the previous session. Yes, whatever we want to create in our classes, with the help of technology, we can easily do it. But have we thought of about the remote areas? Have you thought of that how technology or how NEP is being implemented? Because when it has to be implemented, it has to have the overall development of the country. We cannot talk about the development of one arena or one area. So I think it is just a start. And yes, it has to be very strongly have to be put in the minds of the people that apart from academics, we have to go with the skill-based education wherein there has to be competencies we need to develop, which is, that means only knowledge, cognitive part is not sufficient. That means we have to have their values, their attitudes, everything should go in good coordination, in good combination, which will help the children to do and to excel in whatever they do it. So that is how they'll be able to perform the best if they have all the skills with them.
Right. Interesting perspective. I'll come back to you. Let me have a perspective, Dr. Sunita, again. I can ask the same question to all of you because I need to know and then we can analyze that where we are standing. That, but are the schools ready at present for a universal assessment system? Are we ready for that? Are we equipped with that?
Not at all. See,
not universal, maybe uniform assessment system, if I may.
See, uniform assessment system, I think we all have gone through, and we all are now questioning whether that's really working for all of us. So let me take an example of COVID. You know, everybody was in this mode of having that 3-hour exam. और बच्चे बैठ जाते थे सिस्टम के सामने, टीचर उधर से देख रही है कि अच्छा कॉपी कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे हैं, और आजकल के बच्चे looking at the technology, I mean, you don't know whether you have one system in front of you or you have 4 systems in front of you. So what we did is we did not have 3 hours exam. Very consciously, we did not have 3 hours exam. Thanks to the technology, the various edtech players which came to our rescue. There were so many of them who were available for quick assessments. So those quick assessments were much more fruitful than that 3-hour exam, which you do not know. Now, even, that 3-hour exam, the child got 90%. And the child, when he came back to the school and we had this offline exam, the child got 20%. So that was a big answer to the question, what do we need? I think with the change in technology, with COVID, that shook us. I think there's so much that has come in, and we actually, educators are overwhelmed because we were never ever trained on technology ever. बट नाउ आई थिंक हमारे पास कोई चारा नहीं था, या तो जॉब करो या फिर टेक्नोलॉजी, जॉब छोड़ दो या टेक्नोलॉजी को एम्ब्रेस करो. तो पहले जब हम बोलते थे ना टीचर्स को कि ये टेक्नोलॉजी का ये करना है, नहीं 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 नहीं, नहीं हमें थोड़ी, वो तो कंप्यूटर टीचर करने वाली है. बट आई थिंक विद टाइम, विद दिस कोविड, there's so much that has come to the platter, and today I think they all are really competent enough, and it's more of a student teaching the teacher than the teacher teaching the student. So I think we are with NEP coming in, grade 3 you're going to have an assessment, evaluation, I would say, grade 5. So I don't know whether are we really wanting that. I'm still questioning myself. Are we really wanting that, or the ongoing untold assessments is an answer to the success of everyone?
Dr. Shalini, your thoughts on this?
Your question is, are we ready for the assessments?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
My question was that are schools ready for a more uniform assessment system? Are we ready, both in terms of whether teachers are ready or not, whether management is ready for or not? Your take on that?
See, management will be ready. Whatever resources will be asked, they will provide us. But the point is, after certain age, adults become so rigid. There has to be a lot of, unlearning and then learning. We're so used to, following a set of system, which is, kind of ingrained in us. Let me take an analogy. Like, I have got 4 different children in my class. I have to teach them 4 different skills. Lifting weights, climbing trees, running, and swimming. And my 4 students are a monkey, an elephant, a crocodile, and a deer. And I have a same set of, assessment. So that will not work. So we have to kind of, teach, I would say, unlearn and learn again that, we have to modify our assessment based upon, the kind of abilities and skills children have. And we're not yet ready. Of course, in parts we're doing it. Because when we had CCE, we were doing all those formative assessments, and we had reached a level. Then it was stopped. We went again back to that system, and where, we'll just teach them knowledge-based and understanding. They will memorize it and they will write an exam. Now, again, coming back to it, it's going to take time. The teachers will require a lot of, training. Plus, the parents have to be consulted, because they also want, the answers should be given. The teacher should, dictate answers, and they would send their children to the tuition teacher. They will memorize and they will write an exam. And if the children get, A plus or 99% marks, they're very happy. But they don't realize, marks basically do not represent your success. Success, we can very well see there's so many examples. Children who have not done well in school, they're so successful. So I think, we should get, proactive and, start with this process in case if we want to implement NEP in its true spirit.
We have to be more proactive if we have to implement NEP in its true spirit. That's what Dr. Shalini's take. Dr. Parveen, your thought on that?
I will say that this system will be definitely beneficial for us. But in present situation, our teachers are much trained than the earlier last 2 years. Because as we all are discussing, this COVID may be having some harmful impact, but in other way it's a blessed also, because indirectly it trains the teacher, it makes student also, if the student is efficient, he can perform better by the technology. But sometimes the new technology or new guidance which are coming regarding NEP, which involve competent-based assessment, will be highly beneficial if we can assess it, if we can get our teacher trained to do it. Because the competent-based, as in earlier session, which is on higher education, we are listening that they have a point that the teacher should get trained in the industry. Same way in the schools, if our teachers will go for the multiple choice question, then our students will better go for the entrance examination. The fear which few students have in their mind, what will be different in the competitive exam. So with this competent based assessment, the students can perform better in their competitive exams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for this, because my next question to Dr. Mansi was based on competency-based assessment. There's a shift from, if I can say that, shift from content-based assessment to competency-based assessment, which makes somehow the life easier for the student in terms of exams, a little lighter. But I think in the long run, that is going to be beneficial. How do you see that things unfolding in terms of competency-based assessment?
I think already the pattern that CBSE is giving to the schools require 40% MCQ questions, 20% objective type questions, and only 40% of the questions are short and long answer questions in a particular examination. But what I also see, as a shift is that slowly, gradually, students who do not perform well in the academic examinations will also start getting recognized if they're doing well in other areas. So if they're doing well in art and craft, if they're doing well in technology block, if they're doing well in carpentry or some other subjects, they will also start getting formal recognition, which is not just on a class level or a section level, but on a larger school level. And I think that is very important to encourage them so that they don't feel second in line, or just because they are doing well in an alternate segment as opposed to academia. So, and that is what the NEP is about, giving almost equal importance to scholastic as well as co-scholastic activities, as well as activities which are, mindset activities. So I feel that there's going to be a significant shift, there's going to be a significant change. And to go back to what you were discussing before also, I think it's also important to tie the assessment to this. While there's going to be assessment of academic and scholastic activities, there will also now be formal assessment of co-scholastic activities. So when that comes in your quote-unquote report card, because eventually it's going to take a lifetime to change the mindset of parents. Eventually what matters is that end of the year, what report card comes, that does have an impact. We cannot change that mindset on day one. Eventually, we also as parents, I'm sure that while we are sitting here and talking about NEP and we're talking about co-curricular activities and a change that we want to bring in, you equally care if your child gets through to the best college. And where the criteria needs to trickle down and change is also from higher institutions, where right now, last year itself, my niece just graduated +2, and the cutoff for SRCC was 100, and that was her dream school. Luckily, eventually, God bless them. But yes, there was one seat for choreography / Western dance, and she got through that. So I think there need to be more number of seats allocated to people and students who are doing well in other segments. Only then will that pressure reduce on students from parents that, okay, fine, if you have to go to a government institution for higher studies, we don't really need you to get 100%. It's because eventually, if you look at the tree, it goes from profession to higher education to school education. That's how it builds, right? So to reduce the pressure, and that's why if you look at companies worldwide, especially companies like Google, they're not focusing on the degrees you have. If you have competency, you come, you qualify, and you're through. It really doesn't matter if you have a degree or not. So there is a shift that was not there 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It is there today. And I'm sure that there will be a shift in another 10, 20, 30 years. But like you say, it takes a village.
Mamta Savarwal, how to reduce the burden from this section of children that so much of expectations, 100 cut-off marks. 20 साल पहले तो इतना कुछ नहीं था, अब ये करे तो क्या करे, आप बताइए.
It's very difficult. Actually, if I talk about cut-off rate, competition, there, before guiding the students, there is a need for the society and for the parents to understand. Because children, whatever the parents think, the same thing gets reflected in the thoughts of the kids. Believe in me, since you have asked this question, I am kind of forced to tell you that what is happening these days. That is the 11th class admissions. The child doesn't want and has been sitting quietly. And the parents are, ye to science karega. We are saying that you see his marks, he has not been able to get through, maths nahi kar sakta. The child is quietly saying ki okay, I'll manage without maths. The parents are, maths ke bina life hi nahi hai. So the thing is that we are blaming kids. What has happened that why nobody asks the society? When I'm saying parents, parents form society. So parents need to be educated first. That is very important. Every child has some other inborn talent, some skill is there. It is just we being parents, educators have to find, have to tap, have to distinguish that talent. कि अगर आपका इंटरेस्ट आईटी में तो प्लीज आप आईटी में जाओ, यू आर गोइंग टू एक्सेल. If your interest is in cooking, you want to become a chef, please go ahead. If you want to be a designer or anything maybe, so and so forth, but then it is the parents should accept it, the society should accept it. That is very, very rightly said in that movie of Three Idiots. आप जो चाहते हो, love the work, you do it and you will get success, झक मार के भी पीछे आएगी. But the parents need to understand why the parents are forcing कि इंजीनियरिंग करनी है. आप देखो आपका बच्चा नहीं कर सकता. Why we are having so many accidents, so many incidents? We are pressurizing. पहले हमने अपनी मर्जी हमने अपने बच्चों के ऊपर we have imposed on them कि आपको साइंस करो, मैथ्स करो. Now पढ़ो. The child from the day one was saying I am not able to do it. Parents doesn't want to listen. And every day I am dealing with such situation. And I have seen in the last so many years when we are counseling, we had to counsel parents more. And believe in me, this is a fact. In the month of July, this year the admissions are happening late. Otherwise, normally April में होते हैं. So July में they keep crying कि ma'am please change कर दो subject. Why did you take it? Ma'am please बताना नहीं, लेकिन parents pressure guy. So understand, the parents need to understand. If the parents will understand कि yes, my child, I am okay with my kid. I don't want my kid to go with 90-95%. I want to go with my child, what he says and what his capacities. He may not be doing very well in academics, maybe with 70, 80, 90. I should be happy being a parent and being an educator. Educators, थोड़े से आपको देखते हो कि yes, कि हमारे बच्चे आए, we are happy. लेकिन parents, they are not happy. You see the girl last time also when there was a news, then she has got 97%. She was crying that she was not happy. Why? Why? Because there is a pressure from the parent side only. So we need to see, if we start doing that ways, if we are all educated parents, if being parents, if we cannot support our child, how can we expect the society to, support your child? So whatever the child is doing, whether the child is being, yes, if the child is not studying, I'm not saying that just give a open leverage to our kids, okay, padhna hai, padho, nahi padhna mat padho. That should not have the attitude. Attitude is you show your best. If you are doing your best, उसके बाद आपके जितने percentage आते हैं, I am standing next and besides you, and then I am happy with whatever you have done it, because I know you have burned the midnight oil and you have been studying, and that is your capacity, and I should admit it. All 5 fingers are not same. They are, so I should accept, not that my child is a topper. That's okay. Child has not done academically well. My child must be brilliant in many other IT skills, and he will go, and every child, I have not seen. जितने भी टॉप शॉट्स हैं, they are all dropouts. If you see the history, Facebook उठा लो, कुछ भी उठा लो, everything. So we cannot say. So if we have this feeling among our children, certainly pressure on the children will be less. They will be happy in whatever they are doing. They will not have that fear of failure. They will not have that fear and the pressure, peer pressure or society pressure, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि हमारे यहाँ पे पीछे parents as a support खड़े हैं. And I think that is what is very important. And not only parents, being the educators also we have to be towards our child. मेरे को पता है मेरा बच्चा बहुत अच्छा है, क्लास में does well. We are also parents. I believe he has been doing good. He will excel. 100 आ जाएंगे, 99 आ जाएंगे, आ गए 95, कोई बात नहीं. Accept it. It is not the failure of the child. It is will say it is basically a failure from the side of the parents and the teachers and the educators. If we are not able to understand, we are not able to come down to level, we are pressurizing. Unsaid pressure kills a lot, and that is what it is happening.
I'm glad.